This movie gets 4.5 bananas out of 5, according to the Stinky Monkey's website. Frost Nixon is the story of the events leading up to the historic 4-part interview that British interviewer David Frost had with Richard Nixon 3 years after he resigned from the presidency. Nixon agreed to the interview for 3 reasons. 1. The money. A record $600,000 for an interview, a phenomenal sum for the mid-70s. 2. The Inquisitor. David Frost had a reputation for being a lightweight, more suited for interviewing actresses than serious subjects who could outsmart him. And 3. The chance to set the record straight, and finally explain to the American people why Nixon did what he did, not just with Watergate, but the way he also handled the Vietnam War. Michael Sheen does a great job recreating his Broadway role as Frost, a playboy and a skilled performer, but hardly a serious man. Frost's chief quality is that he knows what will make a splash on television, and his brain becomes feverish as he watches Nixon leave the White House for that last time via satellite from the back of his Australian TV studios. What concerns him about this momentous occasion? He asks, what time is it in the States? 9 a.m. Eastern, he's told, 6 a.m. in California. Frost asks no one in particular, why didn't Nixon wait 3 hours? Half his audience is still asleep. Meanwhile, I'm not sure Nixon was too happy about having any press coverage of this embarrassing event. Still, the only president ever forced to resign from office. While Sheen is great, Frank Langella may be accepting an Oscar for his brilliant performance as Nixon. He already won a Tony on Broadway for his role, and he brings the same intensity to his performance on the screen. He looks a little bit like the former president, certainly more than Anthony Hopkins did in the inferior Oliver Stone movie called Nixon. But what Langella does so well here is become Nixon, from his brooding face to his awkward manner and stunted speech. Even his sweaty upper lip, which some believe cost Nixon his final debate with Kennedy in 1960, and thus the presidency. Langella definitely humanizes Nixon in a way I've never seen before, but still keeps his demons just beneath the surface, ready to lash out at any slight. 30 years ago, Langella made his Broadway and film debut as Dracula, and has been building a sturdy reputation through the years as an excellent character actor, but here his acting skills get to shine on a bigger stage. His Nixon has kindness in him, as when he awkwardly goes to pet a woman's dachshund. But there is madness too, as during one late-night phone call that he forgets even making. He drops the needle on a record of some soaring classical music and runs in place in his bedroom, overlooking the morning Pacific. A funny scene, while at the same time a sad scene of a very lonely man. The supporting actors in this movie do some great work as well, particularly Kevin Bacon as Nixon's chief advisor and confidant, and Frost's journalistic researchers played by the always good Oliver Platt and Sam Rockwell. When these guys see how unseriously Frost is taking the project, they realize their own journalistic integrities and thus careers might be in jeopardy. But Frost, who was smart enough to go to Cambridge, has relied more on his charisma than brains for so long that he can't see the forest for the trees. That he is, in fact, has the most to lose, as his big ego got ahead of him and he ended up financing the entire enterprise himself without first seeing if he had the backing of sponsors or even a network. If the interview went badly, the whole thing could end up blowing up in his face. Nixon's fixation on Frost's Italian loafers and whether they are manly enough to wear became a running joke throughout the film, and the movie is laced with some big laughs, but the subject matter retains its seriousness at its most important moments, especially when it shows Nixon watching video from the bombing campaign in Cambodia. Director Ron Howard has had a bad stretch the last couple of years, particularly with his awful Da Vinci Code, but he has redeemed himself magnificently here by keeping a talky, play-like atmosphere from getting stagnant, but rather moving along at a great pace to make the 2 hours seem like they flew by. Great acting is hard to come by, and this movie is brimming with it. Frank Langella's career is proud. Hopefully it's about to reach new heights. Ciao from the Predator.